Chapter 1. Teaching Aptitude. Educationists should build the capacities of the spirit of inquiry, creativity, entrepreneurial and moral leadership among students and become their role model. Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. These words reflect the whole idea of what it means to be a teacher. Introduction. The progress and prosperity of a nation depends upon the development of its human resources. For this purpose, we need highly competent teachers. Teaching aptitude is all about evaluating candidates who want to enter teaching profession on the basis of their knowledge and skills. It refers to basic qualities required to become a successful teacher. This includes qualification, intelligence, attitude, and many other qualities expected from a person who wants to become a successful teacher. To become a successful teacher. This includes qualification, intelligence, attitude, and many other qualities expected from a person who wants to become a successful teacher. Apart from teaching concepts, teaching objectives, teaching methods, and teaching aids that are specifically mentioned in the syllabus, many questions have been asked on classroom situations in NET examination. The ensuing discussion will help candidates to correctly comprehend these types of questions. Concept of teaching. Teaching can be both formal and informal. Informal teaching is carried out within the family or in community, during initial years of life. It is also called homeschooling. On the other hand, formal teaching is carried out by paid professionals called edit. Teaching can be defined in the following ways. 1. Teaching is the purposeful direction and management of the learning process. 2. Teaching is a process of providing opportunities for students to produce relatively permanent change through engagement in experiences provided by the teachers. 3. Teaching is skillful application of knowledge, experience, and scientific principles with an objective to set up an environment to facilitate learning. 4. Teaching is a planned activity. And effective teaching depends on the following. A. How clearly the students understand what they are expected to learn. B. How accurately their learning can be measured. 5. Teaching is a process in which the learner, teacher, and other variables are organized in a systematic knowledge and skills and also the desired ways of living in the society. Basic teaching models. There is no basic model of teaching that augurs well for all the situations. Two contrasting models are discussed here. These models separately or in combination could be used for different courses. Instructor-centered teaching. Instructor-centered teaching is a conventional approach. In this method, the instructor, more or less, controls the material to be learned and the pace of learning while presenting the course content to the students. The purpose of this method of learning is to acquire and memorize new knowledge or learn new skills. Instructor-centered teaching can also be described as pedagogical approach. Pedagogy is the art and science of teaching. It determines how the teaching occurs. The approach to pedagogical approach, the learner is dependent upon the instructor for all learning, and the teacher assumes full responsibility for what is taught and how it is learned. The teacher or instructor evaluates the learning processes of the students. Learner-centered teaching. In this model, the learner is mostly self-directed and is responsible for his/her own learning. The students learn best not only by receiving knowledge but also by interpreting it, that is, learning through discovery and, at the same time, setting the pace of their own learning. In this method, the instructors facilitate the learning of participants and help them by offering opportunities to learn themselves and acquire new knowledge and develop new skills. This type of teaching is also referred to as andragogic. Features of teaching. The characteristic features of teaching include the following. 1. It has different levels of teaching. 2. It takes place in a dynamic environment. 3. It is closely related to education, learning, instruction, and training. 4. It is essentially an intellectual activity. 5. It is an art as well as science. 6. It tends towards self-organization. 7. It is a social service. 8. It includes lengthy period of study and training. 9. It has high degree of autonomy. 10. It is a continuous process. 11. Teaching is a profession. Different levels of teaching. Teaching takes place at 3 levels progressively. Memory level of teaching, understanding level of teaching. Teaching takes place at 3 levels progressively. Memory level of teaching, understanding level of teaching, and reflective level of teaching. Memory level of teaching, MLT. 1. HERPA is the main proponent of memory level of teaching. 2. It is the initial stage of teaching. 3. It induces the habit of rote memorization of facts and bytes of information. 4. The teacher enables the learner to retain and also to reproduce the learnt material whenever required. 6. The evaluation system mainly includes oral, written, and essay type examination. 7. Good memory includes rapidity in learning, stability of retention, rapidity in recalling, and ability to bring only desirable contents to the conscious level. Understanding level of teaching, ULT. 1. Morrison is the main proponent of understanding level of teaching. 2. It is memory plus insight, as it goes beyond just memorizing of facts. It focuses on mastery of the subject. 3. It makes pupils understand the generalizations, principles, and facts. 4. It provides more and more opportunities for it focuses on mastery of the subject. 3. It makes pupils understand the generalizations, principles, and facts. 4. It provides more and more opportunities for the students to develop the intellectual behavior. 5. It provides active role for both the pupil and the teacher for the assimilation of facts. 6. The evaluation system mainly includes both essay and objective type questions. Reflective level of teaching, RLT. 1. Hunt is the main proponent of reflective level of teaching. 2. It is the highest level of teaching and includes both ULT and MLT. 3. It is problem-centric approach of teaching. 4. The students are assumed to adopt some sort of research approach to solve the problem. 5. Classroom environment is to be sufficiently centric approach of teaching. 4. The students are assumed to adopt some sort of research approach to solve the problem. 5. Classroom environment is to be sufficiently open and independent. The learners are motivated and active. 6. The aim is to develop the reflective power of learners so that they can solve problems of their lives by reasoning, logic, and imagination, and lead successful and happy lives. 7. The pupil occupies the primary place and teacher assumes the secondary place. 8. Essay type test is used for evaluation. Attitude, belief, and involvement are also evaluated. Dynamic environment teaching is dominated by communication that itself is very dynamic in nature. Teaching changes according to dependent and intervening variables. As students depend upon teachers for learning, students are assumed to be dependent variables. Teachers are in a position to manipulate the behaviors of students, and hence teachers are considered as independent variables. Teaching methods, teaching aids, and motivational techniques which also facilitate the teaching-learning process are termed as intervening variables. Closely related to education, learning, instruction, and training, teaching is basically causing to learn. Nothing is assumed to be taught unless it is learned by the students. Thus, learning and teaching go hand in hand. Teaching is the main tool to educate a person. Important concepts related to teaching education, in its general sense, is a form of teaching, training, research, or simply through autodidacticism, self-learning. Learning means activities and experiences. Learning can be defined as the relatively permanent change in an individual's behavior, current and potential, as a result of experience or practice. This can be compared to other primary processes producing relatively permanent change, maturation, that comes with biological age. Some methods of active learning are discussion, practice sessions, structured exercises, team projects, and research projects. Different aspects of learning have been explored later in this chapter. Instruction. It is delivery of contents by the teacher. It does not involve an interaction between the teacher and the learner. Part of teaching. Training. The main purpose of imparting training is to equip candidates with specific or job-related or technical skills. Again, teaching is a wider concept than training. Indoctrination. Indoctrination can be termed as the highest order of teaching. In indoctrination, the beliefs and ideas are impressed upon others and can be included in teaching. Teaching can be done without indoctrination, but no indoctrination is possible without teaching. Syllabus. Syllabus is an outline and summary of topics to be covered in an education or training course. It is descriptive in nature. A syllabus is either set out by an exam board or prepared by the professor who supervises or controls the course students must fulfill in order to pass a certain level of education. Curriculum can also be defined as the sum total of all the experiences that a student undergoes in the school, including academic, co-curricular activities and other types of exposure. Intellectual activity teaching is essentially an intellectual activity. It is not merely talking or expressing one's ideas. It requires conscious and continuous Intellectual activity teaching is essentially an intellectual activity. It is not merely talking or expressing one's ideas. It requires conscious and continuous organization of learning activities. It entails creation of a conducive and supportive learning environment. A teacher has to evolve a suitable plan of action to achieve desired changes in the behavior of a group of learners. In teaching learning process, learners constitute the raw material. Learners are prepared to teach in continuous involvements in the society with varied expectations. Teaching is a science as well as an art. The teaching profession is based upon a systematic body of knowledge, which has been in social, psychological, historical, political, and economical spheres of life. It is also influenced by the religious, spiritual, and ethical beliefs of the society. Teaching techniques are systematic, have definite steps to be followed, and are easily communicable. On the basis of assumptions of science, a teacher can be trained. There are definite steps that are followed in training a teacher. Teaching is an art as well. It takes places in a dynamic environment. The teacher has to deal with individual differences in a class in a tactful manner. It needs a lot of individualized approach and discretion. Self-organization. The people in teaching profession are sensitive towards growth and development because it is a definite mechanism to sustain and promote the standards of teaching profession. The growth in teaching profession is organic in nature, that is, the growth happens in a spontaneous manner. Social service. It has been accepted that education is a potent tool to bring about changes in any nation. It is useful to develop the society. High degree of autonomy. There is a high degree of autonomy in teaching profession, right from curriculum development, planning activities of a year, identifying instructional objectives, deciding upon the method of teaching, media, evaluation criteria, and techniques to divide the admission and promotion rules, and autonomy in planning and execution of co-curricular activities. Teaching as a profession. Teaching is the profession that makes techniques to divide the admission and promotion rules, and autonomy in planning and execution of co-curricular activities. Teaching as a profession. Teaching is the profession that makes other professions possible. There are many courses such as B.Ed, M.Ed, etc., which impart knowledge and skills that establish the foundation for a successful pathway to a teaching career. It entails a number of years of study and intermittent training periods. A teacher has to improve her qualification for advancements in the teaching career. Effective teaching practices. Maxims of teaching. A maxim is a ground rule or fundamental principle that has evolved over a period of time. It is a teacher should start with simple things and ideas, and these can be done with day-to-day examples, if possible. Then gradually, a teacher can move towards concepts and technical terms. This creates interest among learners to acquire new knowledge. This is helpful in better retention. 2. From known to unknown. This is related to first maxim. Retention is always better if new knowledge can be linked with the known one. 3. From seen to unseen. The students should be imparted knowledge about the present. Then they can understand the past and the future better. 4. From concrete to abstract. The mental development of students happens better with the concrete objects. They become familiar with and define micro words for them at a later stage. Into them. The experiments and demonstrations serve this purpose. 6. From whole to part. Gestalt psychologists have proved that we first see the whole object and then its parts. For example, we first perceive the tree and then its trunk, branches, leaves, etc. Thus, the introduction or overview of the topics is important. 7. From indefinite to definite. The teacher should help to transform indefinite knowledge into definite one and aim to clarify the doubts of students. 8. From psychological to logical. During initial stages, psychological order is more important, whereas for grown-up learners, logical order is emphasized more. 9. From analysis to synthesis. The students have little or vague knowledge about the topics. Analysis means dividing problems into its constituent parts, and then, these are studied. Synthesis means to understand by connecting the knowledge acquired through analyzing the parts. A teacher should use analytic synthetic method. 10. Follow nature. It means to regulate the education of a pupil according to his nature. 11. Training of senses. Senses such as sight, hearing, taste, smell, and touch are gateways to knowledge. It is better if all or maximum of these senses can be applied in teaching. Montessori and Froebel are the main proponents of this maxim. 12. Encouragement to self-study. Dalton's system is based on self-study in teaching. Montessori and Froebel are the main proponents of this maxim. 12. Encouragement to self-study. Dalton's system is based on self-study. Principles of teaching. They are closely related to maxims. Teaching methods are based on two types of principles: general principles and psychological principles. General principles. 1. Principle of motivation. It creates curiosity among students to learn new things. 2. Principle of activity, learning by doing. Froebel's kindergarten, KG system is based on this principle. It includes both physical and mental activities. For example, students are asked to make charts and models. 3. Principle of interest. By generating genuine interest among the learner's community, the effectiveness of the tool, students are asked to make charts and models. 3. Principle of interest. By generating genuine interest among the learner's community, the effectiveness of the teaching-learning process can be increased. 4. Principle of linking with life. Life is a continuous experience, and learning linked with life can be more enduring. 5. Principle of definite aim. This is important for optimum utilization of teaching resources and making learning more focused. 6. Principle of recognizing individual differences. Every student is unique in terms of intelligence, attitude, abilities and potentialities, and socioeconomic background. The teaching method should be devised in such a manner to principle of selection. The horizon of knowledge is expanding each day. The teacher should be able to pick contents that can be more relevant and updated to the learner's objectives. 8. Principle of planning. Every teacher has certain time-bound objectives, and hence, teaching should be systematic to make optimum use of resources within the time limit. 9. Principle of division. To make learning easier, the subject matter should be divided into units, and there should be links between the units. 10. Principle of revision. To make learning enduring, the acquired knowledge should be revised immediately and repeatedly. 11. Principle of creation and recreation. This principle is a must to make the classroom environment humorous and create self-confidence and self-respect among the learners. Psychological principles. 1. Principle of motivation and interest. A teacher needs to understand that every student is a unique psychological entity, and a student can be motivated after identifying his/her motives and needs. 2. Principle of recreation. Recreation is necessary to tackle fatigue after attending lengthy classes. This breaks monotony and prepares students for learning again. 3. Principle of repetition and exercise. This is specifically true in case of small children. 4. Principle of encouraging creativity and self-expression. This is specifically applicable in subjects such as mathematics and in learning languages. 5. Principle of reinforcement. Students should be suitably rewarded for their desired behavior. 7. Principle of imparting training to senses. The use of multimedia makes many senses get involved simultaneously, which is crucial for enduring learning. 8. Principle of remedial teaching. This principle is necessary for the teacher to identify mistakes and suggest better answers to the problems. Microteaching. Microteaching is a teacher training technique for learning teaching skills. It employs real teaching situation for developing teaching skills and helps to get deeper knowledge regarding the art of teaching. This Stanford technique involves the steps of plan, teach, observe, replan, reteach, and reobserve. Most of the pre-service teacher education. Effective student teaching should be the prime quality of a teacher. As an innovative method of equipping teachers to be effective, skills and practices of micro-teaching have been implemented. Objectives of teaching. In a knowledge-driven society where information has increasingly short shelf life, it is important for the teachers to focus on long-term goals of preparing our students for life activities, thereby equipping them with more than a finite and rapidly obsolescent body of knowledge, and developing them to understand, apply, and create knowledge, as well as to constantly refresh and upgrade their knowledge. An objective describes an intended result of instruction rather than the process of instruction itself. Thus, instructional objectives communicate the intended learning outcome and rapidly obsolescent body of knowledge, and developing them to understand, apply, and create knowledge, as well as to constantly refresh and upgrade their knowledge. An objective describes an intended result of instruction rather than the process of instruction itself. Thus, Instructional objectives communicate the intended learning outcomes at the end of instruction and state the changes that an instruction should make in the student's behavior. A good objective should be specific, outcome-based, i.e., it should emphasize on the output rather than the process of instruction, and measurable. The first and the foremost point to be considered in teaching learning process is what a student will be able to do at the end of an instruction. The objectives of teaching and learning must integrate instruction, and measurable. The first and the foremost point to be considered in teaching learning process is what a student will be able to do at the end of an instruction. The objectives of teaching and learning must integrate at the end of the instruction. Classification of teaching and instructional objectives. There are two main ways of classifying instructional objectives. One classification is given by Bloom, whereas another classification is given by Gagne and Briggs. Bloom's classification of teaching and instructional objectives. According to this classification, instructional objectives fall under one of the following three categories. 1. Cognitive domain. It is related to development of intellectual capability, i.e., thinking or knowledge. It is the core learning domain. The other domains, i.e., which are as follows. A. Knowledge. It is basically about recalling information or contents. B. Comprehension. It is the ability to grasp the meaning of a material. C. Application. It converts abstract knowledge into practice. D. Analysis. It involves breaking down a communication into its constituent parts in such a manner that relationship of ideas is understood better. A. Synthesis. It is basically about combining the constituent parts to make it a whole. It is antonym of analysis. F. Evaluation. It involves judgment made about the value of methods and materials for particular purposes. 2. Affective domain. It deals with attitude, motivate. It asks for better student participation. It includes the following levels. A. Receiving. Willingness to listen. B. Responding. Willingness to participate. C. Valuing. Willingness to be involved. D. Organizing. Willingness to be an advocate of an idea. A. Characterization. Willingness to change one's behavior or way of life. 3. Psychomotor domain. It is mainly concerned with the acquisition of technical skills. Following are the 5 different levels of instructional objectives in psychomotor domain. A. Imitation. It includes demonstration of a skill by a skilled person and learner tries to follow the same. B. Manipulation. A learner tries to experiment with various aspects like manipulating machinery, desired level of efficiency and effectiveness through practice. A. Naturalization. Skill is internalized and an individual is able to adapt, modify, or design new techniques, methods, or procedures according to the requirements of a situation. Gagne and Briggs classification of teaching and instructional objectives. According to this classification, the learning outcomes fall under one of the following categories. 1. Intellectual skills. These skills are crucial for dealing with the environment. They include concept learning, rule learning, and problem solving. 2. Cognitive strategies. These include methods and techniques for one's own learning, remembering, and thinking skills. 3. Verbal information. It refers to organized bodies of knowledge that an individual acquires. 4. Motor skills. They are basically about motions carried out when the brain, nervous system, and muscles work together. 5. Attitudes. They refer to an internal state of an individual. Methods of teaching. If a child can't learn the way we teach, we should teach the way they learn. Ignacio Estrada. Once the instructional objectives are specified, the next step is to select an appropriate instructional method to achieve them. The teacher has a number of methods at his disposal to select from. These methods are as follows. 1. Large group teaching methods. 2. Small group teaching methods. 3. Individualized teaching methods. In order to make efficient and effective use of these said methods. 1. Large group teaching methods. 2. Small group teaching methods. 3. Individualized teaching methods. In order to make efficient and effective use of these said methods to attain the desired learning outcomes, the user must have thorough understanding of the characteristics and appropriate uses of various instructional methods. Some of the important methods of instruction are given in Table 1.1. Table 1.1 Important methods of instruction. Large group teaching methods. Lecture method. Formal lecture helps in building up basic theoretical knowledge that must be gained before practice or before participative sessions. In certain situations, such as large audience, scarce teaching resources, or shortage of time resource, lecturing may be the only alternative. Lectures can be, in certain situations, such as large audience, Scarce teaching resources, or shortage of time resource, lecturing may be the only alternative. Lectures can be either one-way or two-way depending upon the presence or absence of the facility to seek further information, clarification, and explanation. To make lecture method more effective, the three factors, namely preparation, presentation, and evaluation, must be given due consideration. Advantages: 1. Economical as it can cover large audience in less time. 2. Stimulates further learning. 3. Flexibility of adapting the lecture according to time and equipment available. Limitations: 1. Student may be a passive listener, so teacher has to make conscious efforts to make it two-way communication. 2. Not very on taking notes. Team teaching method. Team teaching is an innovative approach in teaching large groups in which two or more teachers are involved in planning, executing, and evaluating the learning experiences of a group of students. Advantages: 1. Sharing the best faculty by more students. 2. Optimum use of multiple teaching techniques and devices. 3. Improvement of teaching quality. Limitations: 1. Finding teachers with special competencies is a difficult task. 2. More teachers are required for this method. 3. Not useful for teaching all subjects. 4. Requires much time for planning and scheduling. TV or video presentation. Television or video presentation is an improved presentation is followed by a discussion or task. Advantages: 1. Many important personalities and experts are brought to the classroom through video presentation. 2. Specifically useful for adult learners. 3. Illustrated lectures and demonstrations can be supplemented by other teaching aids such as slides, models, specimens, etc. 4. Easily accessible for learners in remote areas. 5. Specifically useful for subjects such as geography, astronomy, etc. Limitations: 1. Less possibility for two-way communication. 2. There can be difficulty in adjusting to complicated schedules to telecast period. Small group teaching methods. Most of the methods of instructional delivery for the learning of smaller groups numbering between 3 and 12 trainees lean towards trainee-centered approach. Some of these methods are group discussion, seminar, project work, tutorials, role-playing, etc. These are briefly discussed below. Group discussion, GD. Group discussion is one of the basic methods of teaching smaller groups. It can be described as communication and interaction within a group around a topic, skill, issue, or problem presented to the group by the trainer or moderator for discussion. Group discussion can be any one of the following. 1. Plan. There is certainty about the conclusions and objectives. The discussion is guided by the trainer in an appropriate sequence. 2. Partly planned. 2. Partly planned. Here, the concluding and opening statements are known, but the discussions in between is not directed or very loosely guided. 3. Unplanned. The topic presented for discussion is without any opening statement and the discussion that follows is entirely spontaneous without any guidance from the trainer. Advantages: 1. Participation of all the group members. 2. Critical thinking can be developed as trainees are free to express their ideas and opinions. 3. Good for the development of oral, non-verbal, and written communication skills. Limitations: 1. Time consuming when it is not very systematic. 2. Possibility of domination by a few participants on the basis of their better communication skills. Seminar. It is a type of group discussion where one trainee, or several, prepare a paper on a given topic, issue, or problem, which is then presented to the whole group for discussion and analysis. A series of seminars can be presented by the trainees around a major topic, so that they form a linked series of discussions. The main stages in seminar are preparation of paper, presentation of paper, and discussion on it. Advantages: 1. This method gives more independence, which leads to development of presentation skills of the participants. 2. It provides opportunity for the trainees to prepare and contribute to a particular topic thoroughly. 3. It provides opportunity to the trainees towards practical group leadership and allows them to use analytical skills, research on conclusions, solve a problem, etc. 3. It provides opportunity to the trainees towards practical group leadership and allows them to use analytical skills, research on conclusions, solve a problem, etc. Limitations: 1. It is time-consuming and may cause stress to participants. 2. It needs a group of trainees with fairly high level of attainment. Panel discussion. A panel consists of a small group of 6 to 8 persons. They carry on a guided and informal discussion before an audience. For example, A panel discussion takes place on the issue of climate change. The leader must, in addition, take special care to select the panel members who can think and speak effectively. He must also be sure that they prepare themselves to discuss the subject. Advantageous discussions, if well conducted, are usually more interesting to the audience than the single-speaker forum. 2. Usually on socially relevant issues. Limitations. 1. Bringing experts to a single forum can be difficult. 2. The audience is not actively involved. Brainstorming is a creative group work in which group members produce a large number of ideas quickly on a given topic or problem for subsequent evaluation. In this method, anyone can exchange remarks with anyone except that the participants are not allowed to criticize the ideas at the time when views are being invited. Sometimes quantity of ideas is more important than quality. Spontaneity is the hallmark of brainstorming sessions. Several rounds of brainstorming. Advantages. 1. It encourages creativity that helps trainers to produce, think, and explore ideas. 2. Scope for larger participation. 3. It is economical as it does not require much preparation. Limitations. 1. It is not a very systematic way of studying a subject. 2. There is possibility of some trainees being reluctant to participate. Project method. This can be described as both a small group and an individualized instruction. In this method, students are allowed to explore and experience their environment through their senses and direct their own learning by their individual interests. Very little is taught from the textbooks, and the emphasis is on experiential learning rather than rote learning and memorization. A project method classroom focuses on students are likely to develop the habit of critical thinking. 2. They develop the habit of working in teams. Limitations. 1. Continuous monitoring may be required. 2. Additional resources may be required. Role-playing has been used effectively by many teachers to help solve classroom interpersonal problems and to teach human relation skills in the classroom. Role-playing has also been used to facilitate subject matter learning through the dramatization of literary and historical works and historical or current events. In all these uses, role-playing provides the student with a dramatic confrontation and clarification of 1. His relations with others, 2. His information about and expectations of the society. 3. Provides the student with a dramatic confrontation and clarification of 1. His relations with others, 2. His information about and expectations of the society. 3. His evaluation of himself and his lifestyle, and 4. The ways in which academic material may be relevant to his daily tasks. Advantages. 1. It is the semblance to real-life situations. 2. Interactive and interesting, it entails participation of every member of the group. 3. It gives immediate feedback. 4. It develops social, decision-making, problem-solving, negotiating, and manipulating skills. 5. It is effective to change the attitude of the participants. Limitations. 1. It has unpredictable outcomes. 4. It develops social, decision-making, problem-solving, negotiating, and manipulating skills. 5. It is effective to change the attitude of the participants. Limitations. 1. It has unpredictable outcomes. 2. Real-life situations are usually more complex. 3. It requires a considerable amount of resources. Simulation means creating conditions that are quite similar to actual conditions. Then the training is provided under those conditions. For example, the training of pilots and astronauts takes place in conditions that are quite similar to actual flight conditions. Simulation is specifically used for training purpose. Advantages. 1. They are economical in the long run. 2. Safety aspects are taken care of. Limitation. 1. It entails high initial investment in machinery, equipment, etc. Tutorials. Tutorial method is a method employed for teaching small groups for developing skills for solving numerical problems. Tutorial method is a method employed for teaching small groups for developing skills for solving numerical problems, providing individual guidance, and sorting personal problems. It is appropriate for taking care of individual differences and guiding the students as per their needs. mastery, learning, comprehending concepts, principles in their applications. And for remedial exercises, advantages: 1. Focused attention. 2. Generates more ideas. 3. Better control over pace of teaching learning process. Limitations: 1. It is difficult to find a suitable pace if the trainees vary greatly in ability. 2. It can be time-consuming. Demonstration method. This method is based on the principle of learning by doing and learning from concrete to abstract. The term objectives. Demonstration can be defined as a combination of verbal explanation coupled with a live display of using apparatus for presenting important facts, ideas, or processes. It may entail audiovisual explanation. Advantages: 1. It is effective in explaining materials, objects, and ideas. 2. It is effective in explaining abstract concepts. 3. It is useful for achieving objectives in cognitive, psychomotor, and affective domains as there is mental and physical participation of students. Limitation: 1. Only few get opportunities to participate in the experimental process. Individualized teaching methods. The individualized methods of instruction can be defined as instruction the learners. The main teaching methods include assignments, case study approach, computer-based learning, open learning, personalized system of instruction, and programmed instructions, which are discussed below. Assignments are given to students for a number of purposes, such as for acquiring additional information, surveying, application of knowledge, and solving numerical problems. Although the main role is of the learner, the teacher too has a crucial role. The teacher has to plan the assignments and guide the student regarding references for collecting relevant information. Assignments can be prepared on any type of topic, but the nature of assignment should be such that the students may not merely copy from the books. The assignments should be open-ended and should help in sharpening the students' comprehension, analytical, and problem-solving abilities. 3. It helps in inculcation of creativity among the students. Limitation: 1. Students may copy each other's material unless the assignments are carefully planned. Case study: unlike traditional lecture-based teaching where student participation in the classroom is minimal, the case method is an active learning method that requires participation and involvement from the student in the classroom. For students who have been exposed only to the traditional teaching methods, this calls for a major change in their approach to learning. A case is usually a description of an actual situation, commonly involving a decision, a challenge, an opportunity, a problem, or an issue facing. In learning with case studies, the student must deal with the situation described in the case, that is, in the role of a decision maker facing the situation. This method has applications across disciplines such as psychology, management, biology, law, sociology, history, etc., to name a few. By allowing the students to gain hands-on experience of the real world and shifting the work focus from professor to the student, the case study method becomes an efficient tool for the creation of a learner-centered education rather than a teacher-centered education. The student becomes actively involved in the course and is no longer an observer in class developments. Cases can be short from brief classroom discussions to long and elaborate. The student becomes actively involved in the course and is no longer an observer in class developments. Cases can be short from brief classroom discussions to long and elaborate semester-long projects. It is important for bringing real-world problems into a classroom or a workshop. They ensure active participation and may lead to innovative solutions to the problems. Advantages: 1. It provides opportunity to the participants to analyze, critically examine, evaluate, and express reasoned opinions. 2. It enhances decision-making and problem-solving skills. 3. It ensures active participation, which may lead to innovative solutions. Limitations: 1. It requires training for the teachers to use this method. Skills: 3. It ensures active participation, which may lead to innovative solutions. Limitations: 1. It requires training for the teachers to use this method. 2. It is not useful for all subjects and situations. Programmed instruction, PI, is a general term for a highly structured system of learning, which is based on logical sequence of self-paced learning steps with feedback between each step. The learner gets immediate feedback after each step. Advantages: 1. There is regular feedback. 2. This ensures active participation of the learner, and it can be used for any subject. Limitation: 1. Learner motivation may get diminished after some time. Personalized system of instruction, personalized system of instruction, PSI, can be used for all subject matters except where the students are to select the contents. Learners must achieve mastery of a series of written mastery units, assisted by teachers, proctors, and enriching lectures before proceeding to the final test. PSI consists of 5 basic elements comprising I. Mastery learning, E. Self-pacing, E. Stress on written material, IV. Proctors, and V. Lectures. It is best suited for contents that are usually conveyed through written material. Advantages: 1. It is based on mastery learning. 2. It facilitates self-paced learning. Limitations: 1. It is not suitable for rapidly changing course contents. 2. It is not suitable for psychomotor and information in a learning process. A computer has the ability to process information very quickly, accurately, and to adapt and respond to the learner's need, difficulties, and progress, which is much greater than that of a book or videotape. Advantages: 1. It has more flexibility and better control in comparison to other methods. 2. It can be effectively used for drilling and practicing, simulation, and modeling. Limitation: 1. It is impersonal and costly. Open learning: it is a flexible method of delivering the instruction, where the learner has open access to learning resources of people, material, equipment, and accommodation, although regular class attendances are not necessary. There are no or minimal restrictions on admissions. Learning packages are to be developed, making use of multimedia. Open learning instruction is, however, not suitable for the rapidly changing nature of content, as this involves time, expertise, and resources. Advantage: 1. It offers flexibility to learner. Limitations: 1. It is not suitable for achieving psychomotor and effective learning objectives. 2. It requires time, expertise, and resources, and hence, not suitable for subjects of rapidly changing nature. Interactive video: the interactive video approach to teaching can be employed to achieve cognitive, psychomotor, and affective objectives. It allows the learner to randomly access any piece of information and provide immediate feedback regarding the consequences of their if real images is possible. Advantage: 1. Interactive video approach enhances the decision-making power of the individual. Limitation: 1. This method is time-consuming and requires resources and expertise. Heuristic method: this method was advocated by Professor Armstrong. In this method, the student has to find out the answer to her own problem by unaided efforts. Thus, the child becomes a discoverer of knowledge by developing a spirit of inquiry. The main aim of teaching by this method is not to provide much facts about science, mathematics, grammar, etc., but to teach how knowledge of these can be obtained. Advantage: 1. Self-learning approach. Limitation: 1. Not much focus on factual knowledge. 1. Self-learning approach. Limitation: 1. Not much focus on factual knowledge. Differentiated instruction. The differentiated instruction is a dynamic, proactive method of teaching. It means that the teacher plans and uses a variety of ways to teach learning. It is a combination of whole group, small group, and individual instruction methods. In this method, qualitative aspects are given more weightage than quantitative aspects. It uses multiple approaches to accommodate multiple intelligences. It is student-centered, meaning that lessons are engaging, relevant, interesting, and active. It is an organized and planned method of teaching. Blended learning, the term originated in USA. It is an organized and planned method of teaching. Blended learning, the term originated in USA. There is no clear single definition available for it. Blended learning combines online learning with face-to-face learning. It is also defined as the combination of multiple approaches to pedagogy or teaching, for example, self-paced, collaborative, or inquiry-based study. The goal of blended learning is to provide the most efficient and effective instruction experience by combining delivery modalities. Learning and learners' characteristics. Learning defined. It appears quite simple to define the term learning. After all, we have spent our entire lives learning new things. Learning is basically psychological in nature. A few definitions of our entire lives learning new things. Learning is basically psychological in nature. A few definitions offered by psychologists are given below. 1. Learning is the process whereby the behavior of an organism undergoes changes as a result of experience. 2. Learning is relatively a permanent change in capacity for performance, which is acquired through experience. 3. Learning is the way through which human beings acquire new skills, knowledge, attitudes, and values. The outcomes of learning are the new capabilities possessed by the learner. Learners' characteristics are mainly about individual differences. Learners have many common characteristics at various ages and stages, but they also differ significantly in many ways. Teachers need to understand both learners in respect to their age, cultural environment, past experiences, physical, mental and emotional makeup, goals, needs, etc. Furthermore, different learners have different learning styles, and as heterogeneity is increasing day by day, they may perceive, interpret, and evaluate the same learning event in different ways. Learners' characteristics, therefore, merit consideration in selection of media. Learners benefit from those media that match their individual learning styles. Therefore, it is understandable why a variety of methods, resources, and paths should be provided for different students to achieve a particular objective. Thus, while designing an instructional plan, the important task for the designer is to identify the most critical event are as follows. 1. Learner. The learner must interpret the stimulus, differentiate and combine them, and give them some meaning. 2. Stimulus. Any stimulus or set of stimuli to which learner is sensitive can become a part of his learning situation. 3. The internal conditions of the learner. These are perception, cognitive structure, self-concept, attitudes, needs, motives, intelligence, previous learning, etc. 4. Response. Any action or reaction to a learning situation. Main steps in learning process. In NET exam, there may be direct or indirect questions on learning process. Reception. Gaining attention by making some abrupt changes in stimulus or stimuli. Expectancy. Informing learners of the objective and what they will be able to do after learning. Retrieval to working memory, stimulating recall of prior knowledge. Selective perception. Displaying contents with distinct features. Semantic encoding, learning guidance. Responding. Asking learner to perform. Reinforcement. Providing feedback to the learner. Retrieval and reinforcement. Additional performance by learner. It entails feedback also. Generalization. More practice of varied problems so as to increase retention. Types of learners in the past. Many direct and indirect questions have been asked in the NET exam. There are main three categories of learner characteristics. General characteristics. Direct questions have been asked in the NET exam. There are main three categories of learner characteristics. General characteristics, specific entry competencies, and learning styles. Learner characteristics. 1. On the basis of personal and social attributes. They help in planning instructional objectives as it may reveal physical characteristics that are relevant to training or instructional decisions. The social factors mainly include the following. E. Age and maturity level. B. Motivation and attitude towards the subject. C. Expectations and vocational aspirations. D. Special talents. A. Mechanical dexterity. F. Ability to work under various environmental conditions. Table 1.2 enlists some of adult and youth learners. 2. Learner characteristics on the basis of learning styles. Learning styles are traits that refer to how learners receive and process information. Felder and Silverman developed one set of category for analyzing an individual's learning styles. Table 1.3 shows the differences between the types of learners and their learning styles. Table 1.3 Learner type and learning style. Learner type. Effective learning style. Visual pictures, diagrams, and demonstrations. Auditory words and sounds. Intuitive insights and hunches. Inductive from facts to generalization. Deductive from theory to individual facts. Actively physical engagement or discussion. Reflectively introspection. Sequentially series of visual facts. Actively physical engagement or discussion. Reflectively introspection. Sequentially series of related steps. Globally large jump or holistic approach. 3. Learner characteristics on the basis of listening skills. Listening is an important skill, and there are 4 types of listening styles, which are as follows. A. Active listening. It is listening with a purpose. B. Empathic listening. It is a form of active listening in which you attempt to understand the other person. C. Evaluative listening or critical listening. In this type, the listener evaluates the accuracy, meaningfulness, and utility of speaker's message. D. Appreciative listening. Listening for enjoyment involves seeking situations involving relaxing, fun, or emotionally stimulating information. 4. Learner characteristics on the basis of thinking styles. There are different thinking styles of learners, which are mentioned below. E. Reflective thinkers. I. View new information with respect to the subject. E. Relate new information to past experiences. E. Always ask, why? IV. Examine their feelings about what they are learning. B. Creative thinkers. I. Like to play with new information. E. Always ask why. E. Create their own solutions and shortcuts. C. Practical thinkers. I. Always look for factual information. E. Seek the simplest and the most efficient way to do their work. E. Not satisfied until they know how to apply their new skills to their job or other picture. E. Want to know how things work. Not just the final outcome. E. Learn the concepts that are presented but also want to know the related concepts that may not have been included. Factors affecting teaching. Teaching is an art and a skill. Its acquisition depends upon so many factors, which are briefed below. 1. Educational qualification of a teacher. It is generally assumed that highly qualified teachers should teach higher classes and less qualified teachers should teach lower classes. 2. Skills. Adequate skill set helps a teacher to do his or her job in more effective manner. Some teaching skills may come with birth, but for many others, a prospective teacher has to make conscious efforts. National Council of Educational Research and Training. Some teaching skills may come with birth, but for many others, a prospective teacher has to make conscious efforts. National Council of Educational Research and Training, NCERT, in its publication Core Teaching Skills, 1982, has laid stress on the following teaching skills. 1. Writing instructional objectives. 2. Organizing the content. 3. Creating set for introducing the lesson. 4. Introducing a lesson. 5. Structuring classroom questions. 6. Question delivery and its distribution. 7. Response management. 8. Explaining. 9. Illustrating with examples. 10. Using teaching aids. 11. Stimulus variation. 12. Pacing of the lesson. 13. Promoting pupil participation. Giving assignments. 17. Evaluating the pupil's progress. 18. Diagnosing pupil learning difficulties and taking remedial measures. 19. Management of the class. 3. Experience of teacher. Teacher himself is a learner all the time. A good teacher would always like to share his enhanced knowledge with the students. And the experience also helps in better handling of student queries and classroom management. 4. Classroom environment. A teacher has to take initiative in creating a classroom environment that supports teaching learning process. 5. Economic factor. Teaching professionals always seek independence of thought. If that is constrained by financial problems, the quality of teaching is affected. The same applies to learners' situation as well. 6. Administrative policy. However, administration intends to bring standardization in teaching practices. 7. Subject matter. Sometimes, when a teacher teaches a subject in which he is not specialized, he cannot create any effect through his teaching, but the same teacher can teach his specialized subject in a better way. 8. Parental expectations. Parental expectations may work as an intervening variable. They may put stress on the learner and ultimately teaching may also get affected. Different approaches in education. 3 bases of education. The educational process is decided on the basis of 3 questions: why, how, and what. Here, the question of why is most important. This is answered by philosophy. The how is decided by the social needs. Hence, education is based on the basis of philosophical, psychological, and sociological bases. The important approaches in education are discussed below. 1. Behaviorism. This assumes that learner is a passive organism who may be conditioned to learn new behaviors. Therefore, learning could be explained by change in observable behavior. E.L. Thorndike postulated the law of exercise and the law of effect. Law of exercise. Repeating a conditioned response would strengthen the bond between the stimulus and the response. In other words, practice makes a man perfect. B. Law of effect. Law of effect is the principle of reinforcement and a response. In other words, practice makes a man perfect. B. Law of effect. Law of effect is the principle of reinforcement and punishment. Any behavior followed by pleasure would strengthen the behavior and any behavior followed by pain would decrease the behavior. 2. Gestalt psychology. It believes that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. For example, in the human body, there are cells, tissues, bones, etc. Yet the sum of all these components, human body, is greater than the sum of its parts. This is because the parts are interrelated to each other. Gestalt psychology demonstrated the significance of perception. It also showed that complex learning need not occur gradually through lengthy practice to each other. Gestalt psychology demonstrated the significance of perception. It also showed that complex learning need not occur gradually through lengthy practice but may develop through insight. 3. Constructivism. The learner actively constructs knowledge. Jean Piaget and J.S. Brunner believed that learning involves an active processing of information and that each individual activity organizes and constructs knowledge for itself. Educational psychology believes that there are developmental stages for knowledge organization. According to Jean Piaget, accommodation and assimilation are basic to learning. A learner develops new schema through accommodation. New experiences are assimilated into already existing schemas, or they may be accommodated by creating new schemas. 4. Idealism. The mind is central in understanding the world. The idealists emphasize the spiritual aspects of learning. God is the source of all creation and knowledge. Spirit and mind constitute reality. Values are absolute, eternal, and unchanging. Man has a superior nature, and it is expressed in the form of intellectual culture, morality, and religion. The main thinkers are Froebel, Kant, Plato, Swami Dayanand, Vivekanand, and Sri Aurobindo. 5. Naturalism. It considers nature as the whole of reality. Our senses are the gateway to knowledge, and nature is the source of all knowledge. Mind is subordinate to nature. The educative process must be pleasurable and set in natural surroundings. The main protagonists are Tagore, pragmatists. There are no absolute values of life. Truth is created during the course of experience. Humans are active beings and have the ability to solve their problems through the logic of experiments and scientific methods. The main thinkers are C.S. Peirce and John Dewey. 7. Humanism. It is a reasonable balance in life and regards humans as the center and measure of all activities. Humanism believes in the interests and welfare of all human beings. Thus, the life of a human being should be transformed so that the welfare of all becomes the goal. The form of learning is on self-actualization. It advocates cooperation, mutual tolerance, and social understanding. 8. Rationalism. Rationalists claim that there are significant source of all our concepts and knowledge. 9. Existentialism. It is a philosophy that emphasizes individual existence, freedom, and choice. This emphasizes the uniqueness and isolation of the individual experience in a hostile or indifferent universe, regards human existence as unexplainable, and stresses freedom of choice and responsibility for the consequences of one's acts. Table 1.4 Important concepts in education and its proponents. Concepts. Main proponents: basic education, Vardha education system, Mahatma Gandhi, learning to take place in nature and from nature, Rabindranath Tagore, integral education, Sri Aurobindo, focus on spiritual aspects of Indian philosophy, drive, Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, education to transform human mind, J. Sorry, kindergarten, focus on self-activity, creativeness, and social cooperation, Froebel, no formal learning, nature as the only teacher, Rousseau. Evaluation systems, interdependence of teaching, learning, and evaluation. Teaching has been defined as the process of facilitating learning, and learning is broadly defined as the process of acquiring knowledge, attitude, skills, habits, and abilities. To determine whether teaching has facilitated learning, evaluation is carried out. In other words, teaching, learning, and evaluation are the three interdependent aspects of the educative process. This interdependence is clearly seen when main purpose of instruction is conceived in terms of helping students achieve a set of learning outcomes that include changes in the cognitive, psychomotor, and affective domains. The instructional objectives or the desired changes in students' learning are brought about by planned learning activities, teaching, and the student's progress is determined by tests and other devices, evaluation. There is a direct relationship among the four important factors of the educational system, such as objective, curriculum, method, and evaluation. As Indian Education Commission, 1944 to 1966, has remarked, it is now agreed that evaluation is a continuous process. Forms an integral 1944 to 1966, has remarked, it is now agreed that evaluation is a continuous process. Forms an integral part of the total system of education, and is intimately related to educational objectives. It exercises a great influence on pupils' study habits and the teacher's method of instruction, and this helps not only to measure educational achievement but also to improve it. Desirable characteristics of evaluation. 1. Comprehensiveness. It must try to assess all aspects of a child's development. Thus, different techniques might be used by the teachers to evaluate the performance of the child. 2. Continuous. Evaluation as a continuous process is education. It is not just an examination but a part. 2. Continuous. Evaluation as a continuous process is education. It is not just an examination but a part of the evaluation process. There is no fixed time limit for the completion of evaluation work, but it is a continuous process. CBSE's Continuous and Comprehensive Evaluation, CCE, is based on the above two parameters. CCE helps in improving students' performance by identifying her learning difficulties at regular time intervals right from the beginning of the academic session and employing suitable remedial measures for enhancing their learning performance. Functions of evaluation. Evaluation does not end with the summarization of results. It has direct bearing on the improvement of the strengths and weaknesses. 2. Motivation. The mere realization that you would be evaluated propels a student to work hard. 3. Better guidance, crucial for the growth of pupils. 4. Remediation. It helps in locating the areas that require remedial measures. 5. Facilitates planning. It helps the teacher in planning, organizing, and implementing learning activities. 6. Revision of curriculum. 7. Inter-institutional comparison. 8. Educational decision making. It relates to selection, classification, placement, promotion, etc. 9. Submission of progress report to parents. Classification of evaluation techniques. A good evaluation gathering evidence on the changes taking place in a pupil. They can be categorized into quantitative and qualitative techniques. Quantitative techniques. 1. Written examination. It is also known as paper-pencil test. In this technique, the answers are to be written as per the instruction of questions. 2. Oral examination. They supplement the written examination. Examples are test of reading ability and pronunciation. Viva voce is also an example. 3. Practical examination. These tests are necessary to test experimental and manipulative skills of a learner, particularly in subjects such as science, technology, agriculture, craft, and music. Qualitative techniques. 1. Observation and interviews, obsessive and systematic, and carefully viewing or observing the behavior and recording it. Interview is sometimes superior to other devices. It is because of the fact that pupils are usually more willing to talk than write. 2. Checklist. A checklist is an instrument that is used for collecting and recording evidence regarding significant behavioral tendencies of the pupils or specific problems they present in the classroom. 3. Rating scale. Rating is a term applied to the expression of opinion or judgment regarding some situation, object, or character. Rating scale is a device by which judgments can be quantified. 4. Cumulative records, anecdotal records, cumulative record cards, and diaries of pupils are some other devices used in evaluation process to know the details about a child's behavior. Type of evaluation. On the basis of phase of instruction. In the various phases of instruction, evaluation is integrated. The 4 types of evaluation are placement, formative, diagnostic, and summative. 1. Placement evaluation. It determines the knowledge and skills the students possess, which are necessary at the beginning of instruction in a given subject area. The purpose of placement evaluation is to check the aptitude of a candidate for the course or subject, whether the candidate has caliber or not. Various entrance exams can also be conducted for the same purpose. This is also done to see the knowledge base. And summative. 1. Placement evaluation. It determines the knowledge and skills the students possess, which are necessary at the beginning of instruction in a given subject area. The purpose of placement evaluation is to check the aptitude of a candidate for the course or subject, whether the candidate has caliber or not. Various entrance exams can also be conducted for the same purpose. This is also done to see the knowledge base of students, and a teacher can start discussion keeping that in view. 2. Formative evaluation. A formative evaluation, also referred to as internal evaluation, is a method for judging the worth of a program while the program activities are in progress. It focuses on the process. This identifies the specific learning error that needs to be corrected. For instance, a student learns and scores high on the objective part of the test but fails in the essay part. He is reinforced to exert more effort in answering essay questions in the succeeding tests. For a teacher, formative evaluation provides information for making instructions and remedies more effective. Quizzes, unit tests, and chapter tests are examples of evaluative instruments used in this type of evaluation. 3. Diagnostic evaluation. The formative evaluation determines the extent to which students accomplish the learning targets. Therefore, it focuses on the measurement of the intended outcomes. The diagnostic evaluation goes a step further and tries to provide an explanation for the possible causes for problems in learning. Internal evaluation. Summative evaluation is a method of judging the worth of a program at the end of the program activities. Summation. The focus is on the outcome. It determines the extent to which objectives of instruction have been achieved and is used for assigning course grades. Summative evaluation generally includes oral reports, projects, term papers, and teacher-made achievement tests, and it shows how good or how satisfactory the student is in accomplishing the objectives of instruction. Teaching aids. I hear and I forget. I see and I believe. I do and I understand. Confucius. These are also termed as instructional aids that assist an instructor in the teaching learning process. They supplement teaching methods and are themselves not as self-supporting as teaching methods. The teaching aids better learning, retention and recall, thinking and reasoning, activity, interest, imagination, better assimilation, and personal growth and development. Table 1.5 depicts some of the benefits of using teaching aids. Table 1.5 Benefits of teaching aids. Important benefits. 1. Motivational effect. 10. Facilitates healthy classroom environment. 2. Supplement verbal instructions. 11. Promotion of scientific temper. 3. Complement verbal instructions. 12. Development of higher faculties. 4. Clear images. 13. Flexibility in learning. 5. Vicarious experience. 14. Opportunities to handle and manipulate. 6. Variety. 15. Better retention. 7. Based on teaching maxims. 16. Reinforcement. 8. Positive creativity. Educational technology. Educational technology can be divided into two categories: hardware approach and software approach. 1. Hardware approach. It mechanizes the process of teaching so that teachers are able to deal with more students with less expenditure in educating them. Hardware includes computer, epidiotscope, overhead projector, radio, slide and film projector, teaching machines, television, etc. 2. Software approach. This makes use of the principle of psychology for building in the learner a complex repertoire of knowledge, modifying a learner's behavior. It evolved through the pioneering work of Skinner and other behaviorists. Software approach is characterized by task analysis, writing precise option. Newspapers, books, magazines, educational games, flashcards, etc. also form a part of software approach. According to the senses involved, the educational technology can be divided into audio aids, video aids, and audio-video aids. 1. Audio aids. They are instructional devices through which message can only be heard. We spend more than 50% of our time in hearing. This reflects the importance of audio media in our life. Examples of audio aids include language labs, radio sets, sound distribution sets, etc. 2. Visual aids. Instructional devices through which the message can only be seen are known as visual aids. Examples include posters, flashcards, charts, bulletin boards, maps, models, photographs. Spend more than 50% of our time in hearing. This reflects the importance of audio media in our life. Examples of audio aids include language labs, radio sets, sound distribution sets, etc. 2. Visual aids. Instructional devices through which the message can only be seen are known as visual aids. Examples include posters, flashcards, charts, bulletin boards, maps, models, photographs, etc. 3. Audiovisual aids. Audiovisual aids are those aids that help in completing the triangular process of learning, that is, motivation, classification, and stimulation. They are instructional devices in which the message can be heard and seen simultaneously. Out of 5 senses, seeing at 87% and hearing at 7% are the 5 senses. Seeing at 87% and hearing at 7% are the major ones to attract attention and increase learning. Examples of audio-visual aids include television, video films, documentary films, etc. Functions of audiovisual aids. When properly used, audiovisual aids contribute to one or more of the following functions. 1. More clarity and understanding. 2. Better attention, interest, and retention. 3. It helps in faster and comprehensive learning. 4. Better access. 5. Save the instructor's time. 6. Supplement the spoken words by combining audio and visual stimuli. Limitations of audiovisual aids. 1. Learners may form distorted impressions unless audiovisual aids are supplemented with required explanations. There is the possible risk of spectatorism instead of the attitude of thoughtful inquiry. Some extension workers acquire the mistaken idea that they have little to do when audiovisuals are used. 4. Multimedia. It is a combination of more than one media. but it could include several forms of media and audios, texts, still images, animations, graphics, videos, and films. Types of teaching aids according to projection or show. Teaching aids according to projection or show are divided into projected and non-projected aids. 1. Projected aids. Visual instructional devices that are shown with a projector are called projected aids. Examples include slides, film strip, silent films, cartoons, etc. These are visual instructional devices that are simply presented without any projection equipment are non-projected aids. Examples include blackboard, chart, etc. Apart from these aids, there are two additional categories of the teaching aids: display aids and presentation aids. 1. Display aids. Visual aids that are spread before the audience for viewing information and instruction. Examples are poster, bulletin board, models, exhibits, etc. 2. Presentation aids. Visuals aids that are presented or projected before the audience for viewing, explaining or presenting the message of the visuals, so that the audience gets meaningful understanding of the subject. Examples are flashcards, slides, film strips, etc. As a method of teaching was developed by Tony Buzan in 1960. A mind map is a diagram for representing tasks, words, concepts, or items linked to and arranged around a central concept or subject. It uses a nonlinear graphical layout that allows the user to build an intuitive framework around a central concept, and it can turn a long list of monotonous information into a colorful, memorable, and highly organized diagram that works in line with the learner's brain's natural way of doing things. Using mind maps as an innovative thinking tool in education helps students to visualize and externalize concepts and understand the connections between different ideas. It is commonly used in presentations, critical thinking, brainstorming, different ideas. It is commonly used in presentations, critical thinking, brainstorming, decision-making, and project management. Projected visual aids. Any visual aid that is used for magnification of image on a screen in dark or semi-dark conditions can be called a projected visual aid. There are three important methods of projection. 1. Direct projection, slide and film projectors. 2. Indirect projection, overhead projector. 3. Reflected projection, opaque projector and epidioscope slides. A slide is a transparent mounted picture that is projected by focusing light through it. The projection may be made on a screen or on a white wall. Slides of 35 films mounted on individual cardboard or plastic frames are common and that is projected by focusing light through it. The projection may be made on a screen or on a white wall. Slides of 35 films mounted on individual cardboard or plastic frames are common and are extensively used in extension work during training programs, seminars, workshops, group meetings, campaigns, exhibitions, etc. Overhead projector, OHP. The overhead projector projects the picture over the head of the speaker on the screen. Drawings, diagrams, letterings, etc. are made on transparent sheets and are put on the glass platform of the overhead projector, through which a strong light is passed. The rays of light are made to converge with a lens and are reflected by a mirror held at an angle on the screen at the back. Transparencies can also be made through photographic with a lens and are reflected by a mirror held at an angle on the screen at the back. Transparencies can also be made through photographic, Xerox, or electronic processes as well. Overhead projection is used in training programs, group meeting, seminar, symposium, workshop, etc. Advantages include synchronization of projections with talk, facing audience, and observing their reaction, sustaining audience interest, clear presentation of complex ideas, time saving, and easy availability of materials for making transparencies. Handheld projector. It is also known as a pocket projector, a mobile projector or a pico projector. It is an emerging technology that applies the use of digital assistants and digital cameras, which have sufficient storage capacity to handle presentation materials with an attached display screen. Video projector. A video projector is also known as a digital projector, which is now popular for many applications for extension and development. All video projectors use a very bright light to project the image. Opaque projector, epidioscope or episcope. It is a device that displays opaque materials by shining a bright lamp onto the object from above. The material can be book pages, drawings, mineral specimens, leaves, etc. Film strips. The film strip was a common form of still image instructional multimedia. It was once commonly used by educators in primary and secondary since 1940s till 1980s. Microsoft PowerPoint presentations. PowerPoint is an application program of presentation that is found in Microsoft Office. Nowadays, many of the audiovisual teaching aids have been replaced with PowerPoint presentations. Here, the slides give us the flexibility in terms of fonts, visuals, sizes, ability to change, etc. It allows the teachers to reflect on a lesson and correct any changes, and they can create perfect lessons and can print them out. Using PowerPoint improves the students' learning motivation, increases authentic materials for study, and encourages interaction between the teacher and the students. Non-projected visual aids. Non-projected visual aids are low power supply requirement, economical, and ease in handling. They can be useful in small group situations. Many of them can be converted into projected aids. For example, charts, flannel graphs, and flashcards can be photographed or scanned and converted into slides. Some of them can be projected through an opaque projector. Charts. A chart is a symbolized visual aid with pictures of relationships and changes, which are used to tabulate a large mass of information or show a progression. Charts can help communicate difficult and dull subject matter in an interesting and effective way. They make facts and figures clear and interesting, show or compare changes, and show the size and placement of parts. They are also helpful in summarizing in visual form. Types of charts. There are many varieties of charts. Some common types of charts are briefly discussed below for your understanding. 1. Bar chart. Bar charts are made of a series of bars along a measured scale. They are used to compare quantities at different times or under different circumstances. 2. Pie chart. Pie charts are in the shape of circles and are used to show proportions and percentages. 3. Tabular chart. Tabular charts are used to bring together mass-related data in compact form, e.g., timetable. 4. Tree chart. Tree charts are used for showing development or growth of a program or project. The origin is shown in a single line or as a tree trunk, and various developments are shown as branches. 5. Growth of a program or project. The origin is shown in a single line or as a tree trunk, and various developments are shown as branches. 5. Flow chart. Flowcharts show organizational structure of departments, institutions, and resources with lines and arrows. 6. Pictorial chart. A pictorial chart gives the viewer a vivid picture and creates a rapid association with the use of graphic messages, such as cartoons and illustrations. This type of chart is more useful for a literate audience. 7. Overlay chart. An overlay chart consists of a number of sheets that can be placed one over the other conveniently. On each individual sheet, a part of the whole concept is drawn. This enables the viewer to see not only the chart consists of a number of sheets that can be placed one over the other conveniently. On each individual sheet, a part of the whole concept is drawn. This enables the viewer to see not only the different parts but also how they appear when one is placed over the other. After the final overlay is placed, it shows full view of the whole picture. This type of chart presentation is dramatic and effective. 8. Pull chart. It consists of written messages on a large sheet. Messages are hidden by strips of thick paper held in position by the slits provided on either side. The messages can be shown to the viewer one after another by pulling out the concealing strips. 9. Striptease chart. It is similar to the pull chart. However, messages are concealed by strips of thin paper instead of thick paper. Paper strips are pinned or pasted at both ends of the message. Whenever the message is to be exposed, one end of paper strip is stripped off. This has the advantage of surprise and anticipation. 10. Flip chart. A flip chart is a series of visuals drawn onto large sheets of paper or cardboard, which are fastened together at the top. These are turned over or flipped one at a time. This kind of chart exposes the audience to segments of the subject in sequence and holds their attention remarkably well. Flashcards. Flashcards are brief visual messages on poster board. The cards are flashed, turned over at short intervals, before the audience to emphasize the important points in a presentation. Flashcards are held like a pack of cards and are for the purpose of creating awareness among the people. A poster is generally seen from a distance and the person glancing at it seldom has the time or inclination to stop and read. The job of the poster is to stop the persons hurrying past and thrust the message upon them. 1. Posters give only an initial idea and cannot furnish detailed information. They need to be reported for further information by another aid or method, e.g., leaflets and demonstration. 2. The production of good posters is a technical job and requires skill and time. 3. It cannot be repeated. For each occasion, a new poster has to be made. Pictures and photographs. A picture is a representation made by drawing, painting, or photography, which gives an light or in color. Nowadays, digital cameras are popular. Graphs. A graph is an image that represents data symbolically. A graph is used to present complex information and numerical data in a simple, compact format. Bar graphs, line graphs, scatter graphs, and pictographs are some types of graphs. In a two-dimensional graph, the information is represented along two coordinates, x-coordinate and y-coordinate. An independent variable is shown along x-axis and dependent along y-axis. More about graphs is discussed in Chapter 7 on data interpretation. Maps. A map is a visual representation of an area, a symbolic depiction highlighting relationships between elements of that space such as objects, regions, and themes. Cartography. Plan, sketch, drawing, or outline designed to demonstrate or explain how something works or to clarify the relationship between the parts of a whole is called a diagram. Display boards. Blackboard or chalkboard. It is one of the oldest teaching aids. The chalkboard is probably the simplest, cheapest, most convenient, and widely used non-projected visual aid in extension teaching. It is a vehicle for a variety of visual materials. The chalkboard is suitable for use in lectures, training programs, group meetings, etc. It facilitates step-by-step presentation of the topic, creates a dramatic impact, and sustains audience interest. Presentations may be adjusted according to the receptivity of the audience. It helps the audience to take notes. It helps in comprehension and retention. May be adjusted according to the receptivity of the audience. It helps the audience to take notes. It helps in comprehension and retention of knowledge. Whiteboard. Modern classrooms are equipped with boards also called marker boards or multipurpose boards. They require special erasable markers. A felt eraser is required to erase the surface soon after use. Markers are available in different colors. It may be used as surface for projecting films, slides, and overhead transparencies. A whiteboard with a steel backing can be used as magnetic board for display. An interactive whiteboard is a large interactive display that connects to a computer and projector. A projector projects the computer's desktop onto the board's surface, where users. Interactive whiteboard is a large interactive display that connects to a computer and projector. A projector projects the computer's desktop onto the board's surface, where users control the computer using a pen, finger, or other device. The board is typically mounted to a wall or to a floor stand. Bulletin board. A bulletin board displays messages. It is a surface on which bulletins, news, information, and announcements of specific or general interest can be displayed. Bulletin boards are of different sizes with provisions to hold pens, book exhibits, and other materials. Flannel board and flannel graph. A flannel board is a visual aid in which messages are written or drawn on thick paper and presented step by step to the audience to synchronize with the talk. The board is a flannel-covered flat surface, step by step to the audience to synchronize with the talk. The board is a flannel-covered flat surface. Flannel is stretched and then glued to a piece of plywood or heavy cardboard. Magnetic board. It can be a sheet of tin plate. It is simply a type of chalkboard, and the surface of which is treated or coated with a porcelain-like substance. The base of the board is steel, and pictures and objects can be pasted or mounted with small magnets and can easily be moved about. Pegboard. Perforated hardboard is tempered hardboard, which is pre-drilled with evenly spaced holes. The holes are used to accept pegs or hooks to support various items, such as tools in a workshop. Three-dimensional models. Real things may not be of height, width, and depth. This makes the understanding better and easy. Models can be of three types: I, solids; E, cutaway or cross-sections; and E, working models. They have advantages of reality depiction, illustration, and are complex and intricate. They are long-lasting and cheaper. Objects, specimens, and globe objects are collections of real things for instructional use. Specimen is any typical object representing a class or group of things. A globe is the spherical model of Earth. Audio aids. Radio. The popularity, availability, and low cost of radio made it a convenient and practical medium for use in programs for distance learning. It is mostly used in combination with other media. Was launched in 2001. The publicity material has been developed by IGNOU. The target group is students of open or conventional universities. It is a unique decentralized concept of extending mass media for education and empowerment, which is suited to the educational needs of the local communities. Recordings. A tape recorder or any other kind of audio recording is suitable for extension work in meetings, training programs, campaigns, recording radio programs, etc. It facilitates on-the-spot recording of sound. It is easy to operate and preserve. It has low operational cost as the same tape may be used again. Digital audio player. A digital audio player is sometimes referred to as an MP3 player and has the primary function of digital audio player is sometimes referred to as an MP3 player and has the primary function of storing, organizing, and playing audio files. Some digital audio players are also referred to as portable media players as they have image viewing and video playing support. The example is iPod, 4th generation audio aid. Telephone and mobile. Usually, two persons can communicate at a time through a telephone. The system serves many people in a given area if a speaker is attached to it, like cell phone operated mobile audio communication and conference system, COMBACCS. This technology is seeing a phenomenal growth in many developing countries. Short message service, SMS, and wireless application protocol, WAP, enabled cell phones with message service, SMS, and wireless application protocol, WAP, enabled cell phones with cameras can be effective in offering always available extension between experts and people. Comebacks can help community members at different locations build relationships and understanding. Television. Television is an effective tool in expressing abstract concepts or ideas. Abstract concepts are usually produced and conveyed with words. Besides this, in making an abstract concept concrete, the role of animation and visual experimentation is very important. Activity aids. 1. Field trip. A field trip is a structured activity that occurs outside the classroom. It can be a brief observational activity or a longer, more sustained investigation opportunity to make connections with others. Students on field trips visit people and places that they are not normally exposed to during the school days. 2. Experimentation. The experiments are specifically useful in science subjects so as to relate theory with practice. 3. Dramatics. They can convey some message to society or public at large. These are usually theme-based and students are assigned different roles. 4. Teaching machines. There are many types of teaching machines. In general, they all work on the same method, which is to present a question, have the user indicate the answer, and then provide the user with the correct answer. They are usually programmed. They are particularly useful in subjects that require drill, such as have the user indicate the answer, and then provide the user with the correct answer. They are usually programmed. They are particularly useful in subjects that require drill, such as arithmetic or a foreign language. Users can proceed at their own pace and also have an opportunity to review their work. If the machines are used in a classroom, they relieve teachers of some of the time-consuming aspects of drilling students and allowing them to give more attention to individuals with specific problems or to concentrate on some particularly difficult area of instruction. 5. Programmed instructions. It is mentioned on page 1.13 under individualized teaching methods. Other activity aids. The computer-aided learning, demonstration, and programmed full-fledged teaching methods or just teaching aids, depends upon the degree of their use. Factors influencing the selection of teaching aids. No single rule of thumb can be given for the selection and use of various audiovisual aids to ensure effectiveness in all situations. In order to get the most effective results, the following aspects are important. 1. Selection of appropriate aids. 2. Suitable combination of the selected aids. 3. Their use in proper sequence. Audiovisual aids are used singly or in combination, thereby taking into consideration the following factors. 1. Nature of audience. Printed media are meant for literate people, whereas exhibits, pictures, and symbols are for less literate people. 2. Size of audience. A video show or whiteboard cannot be used effectively when the number of participants exceeds 30. Internet can be used for large audiences. 3. Teaching objective or expected nature of change. Select the audiovisual aids based on the objective of extension teaching, that is, to bring about a change in thinking or knowledge, attitude or feeling, and actions or skills. If you merely want to inform or to influence a large number of people slightly, use mass media such as radio or television. 4. Nature of subject matter. In case new practice is simple and familiar, a news article, a radio message, or a circular letter will be effective. Whereas complex or unfamiliar practices will require audiovisual article, a radio message, or a circular letter will be effective. Whereas complex or unfamiliar practices will require audiovisual aids. 5. Availability of aids. Despite the availability of the internet 2 decades back, it was not being used on a large scale. With availability of speed, due to better technology, and cost effectiveness, more people are now using internet-based technologies as teaching aids. 6. Relative cost. Effective aids need not be necessarily costly. The amount expended on audiovisual aids, in relation to the extent of effectiveness, is also an important consideration in their selection and use. Dale's cone of experience. Dale's cone of experience is a model that incorporates several theories related to instructional design and learning processes. Heard, read, or observed. His research led to the development of the cone of experience. Today, this learning by doing has become known as experiential learning or action learning. How can instructors use the cone of experience? According to Dale's research, the least effective method at the top involves learning from information presented through verbal symbols, that is, listening to spoken words. The most effective methods at the bottom involve direct, purposeful learning experiences, such as hands-on or field experience. Direct purposeful experiences represent reality or the closest things to real, everyday life. The cone charts the average retention rate for various methods of teaching. The further you progress down the cone, it is important to remember that involving students in the process strengthens knowledge retention. It reveals that action learning techniques result in up to 90% retention. People learn best when they use perceptual learning styles, and these learning styles are sensory-based. The more sensory channels possible in interacting with a resource, the better chance that many students can learn from it. According to Dale, instructors should design instructional activities that build upon more real-life experiences. Dale's cone of experience is a tool to help instructors make decisions about resources and activities. Important tips for better classroom management. In NET examination, there are questions about class indiscipline and how to deal with the situation. There are a number of things a teacher must keep in mind when dealing with students who do not behave in a disciplined manner in the class. There is a basic rule that the teacher must consider that he or she does not hurt them physically or emotionally. This would prove psychologically harmful to the student. And our purpose is surely not to harm them but to modify their behavior as individuals. Punishments, if any, should be seen as reasonable and fair, and never vicious. The ability to control a group of students depends on the personality of the teacher and also the rapport that he or she develops with them. There are some tips to be kept in mind. 1. Immediate action. If the students indulge in deviant behavior, the teacher must take instant action and to be kept in mind. 1. Immediate action. If the students indulge in deviant behavior, the teacher must take instant action and not allow it to persist for a long time. If a student is coming late to school repeatedly, the teacher should speak to the student immediately after the class. 2. Stop teaching in case of misbehavior. Stop teaching whenever the students disrupt the class. The teacher must stop teaching and should tell the students to stop doing so immediately. The moment the teacher stops teaching, it is clear that the teacher means business and will not tolerate misbehavior in the class. Teaching with sense of humor. Laughter is a natural, universal phenomenon, with beneficial effects on people and reduce tension. It is an effective advertising strategy. Teaching with the help of cartoon is a very effective way. When there is a willingness to change, there is hope for progress in any field. Students enjoy humor in forms of funny anecdotes. 3. Change seats. If few students disrupt the class, change their seats. Separating the troublemakers is quite effective in controlling indiscipline. 4. Adapt and be sensitive. In case the entire class is gradually getting out of control, then it's a signal that the activity is boring. The best way of controlling them is by changing the activity. For example, if they are reading, immediately switch over to a writing task, which would keep them all quiet and involved. The teacher must learn to immediately switch over to a writing task, which would keep them all quiet and involved. The teacher must learn to adapt and be sensitive to the mood of the class. 5. Counsel after class. One of the most effective ways of tackling a student is by giving counseling after class. A heart-to-heart talk explaining the antisocial behavior to the student and giving them an opportunity to explain why they misbehaved would prove beneficial in sorting out many issues. The teacher should also clearly explain the consequences of not improving. 6. Talk to the parents. In several cases, a talk with the parents will improve the behavior of the student. It would also give a better insight into the reasons for indiscipline by individual students. Education and teaching related important days. Table 1.7 Important dates related to education. Dates. Important days. January 4th World Braille Day, a form of written language for blind people, in which characters are represented by patterns of raised dots that are felt with the fingertips. January 24th National Girl Child Day, also called as Balika Divas. February 21st International Mother Language Day. February 28th National Science Day, to commemorate invention of the Raman effect in India by the Indian physicist Sir Chandrasekhara Venkat Raman on the same day in 1928. June 21st International Day of Yoga. United Nations proclaimed the 21st of June as International Yoga Day. September 5th Teachers' Day is celebrated. The first Vice President of Independent India and the second President of the country. September 8th International Literacy Day, to highlight the importance of literacy in life and remind ourselves of the status of literacy and adult learning worldwide. September 14th Hindi Day. October 5th World Teachers' Day. UN World Teachers' Day commemorates the work of teachers and their contributions to society. October 11th International Day of Girl Child. October 20th World Statistics Day. November 1st National Education Day. It is also the birthday of Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, eminent educationist and the first Education Minister of Independent India. November 14th Children's Day. It is also the birthday of Independent India's first Prime Minister.